This
Hit
call is
record.
being recorded.
All right, thank you everyone for joining us. We have head coach Richie Burke on the line. Just as a reminder, please try and keep your mic muted if you're not asking a question, and please state your name and the outlet you're with when you're asking a question. Richie, if you'd like to give an opening statement. If not, we'll head right to questions.
No, I'm good, George. Let's go straight to questions.
Richie, this is Jason from Blackburn United. How you doing?
Hey, Jace, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing well. You gave the team about a week off after the Challenge Cup. You mentioned before that break that you had everything really planned out, all the sessions for the build-up to this game against Orlando. How was that break for them, for the players, and what have you been working on with the group to get ready for this start to the regular season?
Steady on, Jace. It was a 5-day break. It wasn't a 7-day break, so I'm not that generous. So,
my apologies.
That's all right. It was 5 days. We gave them 5 days off. We actually trained the day after the Gotham game for a recovery session. And then it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We gave them Monday as a travel day. We got back at it on a Tuesday. So, been working on a couple of different things. Got a couple of players in some unfamiliar roles or uncustomary roles this weekend to see where it goes. But, looking at things the way they've gone on a training ground, it looks good. But as we say previously, all these plans work out well in training and in theory. When you have to put them into practice, we'll see how it goes because Orlando have been pretty confident and pretty good in a couple of matches they've played recently. So it's their, season opener at home, but a crowd in place. So, they'll be buzzing. So we'll see exactly how it goes.
Hey, Richie, it's Steve from the Washington Post.
Yep.
Hey, so what, big picture, considering all the roster building and general organization you've been going through over the last 2 years, what do you expect from this team over the course of a season, or what should, how far should this team go?
Steve, it's a great question, mate. So, potential is a great thing, isn't it? We can all talk about potential all day long. I think this team has incredible potential. It's still a very young group. We're starting, with a group up front and attacking roles that, their average age is 21. So, you see how that pans out over the course of a professional season. Some of these younger players take to it really well. Some, struggle a little bit. The demands on their body, the demands mentally and psychologically. So, we can start out the season. Do I think we're a playoff team? Absolutely, I think we're a playoff team. Will we have a deep run in the playoffs? That will depend very much on how the course of the season has gone and how some of these younger players have adapted to the professional game. And, how the experienced players, whether we've lost them during the Olympic window and even post-Olympics with God knows what type of victory tour is going to go on. So those type of things play into your year-round planning. We've tried to make some contingency plans, but I think those contingency plans will rely on some younger players really, really doing well and progressing the way we expect them to in the professional game. But it's always a flip of a coin with some young players. So, yeah, we'd like to get into the playoffs. We expect to get to the playoffs. We expect to get a deep run in the playoffs if we're good enough, and let's see where it goes from there.
And what'd you learn about your team during the Challenge Cup?
We were a little bit more resistant to a hybrid formation that I wanted to play. Some people didn't take to it as well. Some people didn't think that, that was our best foot forward, and it showed in their movement and their preparation. So, we've reverted to a different type of system that I think they are more accustomed to, they're more comfortable with, they're more settled with. It suits our style. So tactically, there was a lot of growth that went on. I was a little bit disappointed. I think I might have shared this with you before, Steve, that playing uber competitive matches in a preseason period is just absolute madness because some players are just not ready for that. You're experimenting. You're trying to move, certain accumulation levels along, whether it's tactical, physical, even mental for some of the young players. So playing in those preseason games was, in a competitive nature, trying to go win a final was madness. I was actually pretty happy at the end, and think they were too. They got a 5-day break because it was, a culmination of 13 weeks of preseason with 4 uber competitive matches. Just not exactly the best professional preparation you wanted. So, but we did manage to learn a lot about our tactics. And we came together well on the training ground. Good group, good experienced group, blended with some youth. So I'm hoping that that translates into some regular season performances now that we're ready to go, and these games really count as the season starts.
Great, thanks, Richie.
You're welcome.
Richie, this is John Hoffman with RFK Refugees. You just mentioned your 13-week preseason, which is a very long preseason. What's the team's health like going into now a equally long, grinding regular season? You've got a full season ahead of you this year as opposed to last year where it was a bit stop and start. Now you've got a long season to plan for. What's the team's health looking like going into Sunday?
John, it's good. It's a 13-week preseason, the longest preseason in the history of the world. So I've never heard of that before in my life. But during that period, because players, they get into a fire rhythm of playing games, recovering, getting prepped again, playing a game, recovering, getting prepped again. And if you've got no matches, it sort of disturbs that preparation. So now it's just training. And some players had little niggling knocks and injuries and adductors and hamstrings and, in areas that are more or less down to the fact that we didn't play enough games. They exercise that muscle group in particular in the game activity, the match activity, and then you recover them from it. But you're constantly training them. We got them to the point where there was some where we felt, Houston was one. Stav and Nielsen missed out on a number of games because they were at the point where I thought if we pushed them any further, we'd have bigger problems for the season. But thankfully, right now, we're all more or less in a good place. Kelly O'Hara's knee is still not where she really wanted to be, but it's getting there. She's going to play this weekend, and we'll see where that one goes. But it's, if we had her at exactly 100%, we'd be happier. But she's not. But she's going to play, and because that's the way she is. And most of the players who are carrying things that aggravated them in preseason, they've sort of dissipated now. So we're in a point where we've got more or less everybody ready. Jordan DiBiase's ready too, which is good because she's taken a long time with that surgery had with torn labrum. So she's back good to go now. So we're more or less all hands on deck. So it's not too bad.
Thanks, Richie.
You're welcome.
Richie, Tim Graney from Tribal Football. There was an announcement a week ago about a new indoor soccer league in the Southeast this winter that will include a women's league as well, paying men and women equally. And I know you played with the Warthogs, as did a few women players during that time. With the off-season pipeline to Australia in particular pretty much closed right now because of the leagues starting at different times this year, is an indoor professional league in the States a viable off-season option for NWSL players, or is that transition between the codes just too different?
It's a great question. Jim, some players who are great outdoor are not great indoor players. Some players who are superb indoor players don't translate to the outdoor game. So having walked with a foot on both sides of the fence as a player, I think that it's very niche for certain players. And looking at some of our players, you'd say, well, I imagine she'd be brilliant indoor. I imagine she'd be very good indoor. My issue with the game is very tough on the body, and I didn't. I played indoor for a little bit before I played outdoors most of the time and finished indoor. And I was a little bit older when I played indoor, and it really takes a toll on your body. So I would say, any of the players, who wanted to play in the indoor league, just be careful of how, that impact has on your body, because the indoor game is very, very tough on the spine, the lower back, and the groin area, right across the pelvic platform. It's difficult because you're pounding, even if you do a 2-minute shift, you're in and out, it's still very, very tough on your body. But the point really is, these players have to go and play again to get more money. Why don't we on the front end just pay them enough money in the first place instead of them having to, to go during what is an off season? Instead of taking the season off to relax and recuperate and get ready for the new season, they have to go and play another season in their off season, which is madness. So, my stand would be, let's pay female players, as you said, is the same as the male players, or a living wage that they can play professional football without having to do something in their off season, get remunerated at a really good enough level. And those players who can't make it in the NWSL or don't get drafted in the NWSL, they can go and make some good money in the indoor league rather than having players play in two separate leagues. You know, I'm sure Neymar is not interested in during his off season and go and play in the indoor league. You know, it's like craziness. So I hope that we can continue to elevate our payment status in the NWSL to players, that they have, you know, a livable wage. The minimum wage should be significantly higher than it is right now. And that's more in line with what I would advocate rather than having to play 2 seasons.
Great. Thank you, Richie.
You're welcome.
Hey, Richie, it's Emily Olson. I wanted to go back to your comments about Jordan DiBiase and how key she was last year. Just curious how long she's been training full out with the team. You mentioned shifting back to a more familiar formation, so that's probably helpful. But how quickly do you expect her to just kind of pop right back into your lineup and play the role she has before?
You know, I would like her to be back in this weekend. She hit an absolute banger in training today that nearly took my head right off my shoulders. So I don't know whether she was actually aiming for me or not, but if she was, she came very close. She was very good, and she's been in, you know, full training now. Her actual, the doctor and the PT gave her a date of May 10th for full activity, and I think she was on the early stage of that because, you know, she was into activities a couple of weeks ago where we had her in a couple of bouts where she was a bounce player, a neutral player in a couple. If we had 4 bouts of one activity, she was in one out, one in, one out, one. So we've assimilated her, you know, over the last couple of weeks. But, you know, in training, you know, she's really got the bit between her teeth. And you can imagine not playing since, you know, last August when she was in the Challenge Cup. She really was last time she played. She's chomping at the bit and really ready to go. I think we just have to manage her carefully. You know, I love the kid. I think she's a brilliant footballer. She was my very first draft pick when I came into the women's professional game. And you have a soft spot for players like that, but she's a fantastic footballer. And I would throw her right in the deep end this weekend if I wasn't getting warned by my medical staff that would not be a good move. So we'll integrate her slowly but surely. Our games come thick and fast in the first 4 or 5 matches of the season. And I would imagine Jord will get some playing time, and we'll grow that as she finds her feet.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
Rich, this is Jason again. I wanted to go back on Orlando again. Obviously, you've played them already. You've had time to look over their other Challenge Cup games. You mentioned that they're looking more confident this year.
Yep.
What other thoughts do you have about them, and how do you make this game go a little bit better for your side than the last visit down there?
Well, hopefully there won't be so many referee errors, and hopefully we'll score a penalty when we get one, and hopefully some of the chances that we have and some of the dominant possession that we have will be a little bit better for us. But, you know, each match is an individual setup on its own. They are, you know, we talk about their front 4 with Morgan, LaRue, Korniak, and Marta being a little bit independent from the rest of that group, which is a back 4 and 2 sitting 6s. So, you know, they defend well with those players, but it's that dynamic 4 that get forward that create most of the problems for them. And they are a transition team, and they are a team that will counter you very quickly because they got pace. So it's not a surprise that they're a little bit confident right now because they do have, you know, a number of game changes high up the field that can make it very, very difficult. We are aware of it. We've made some countermeasures. We've had a look at some of the lessons that we learned from the first match, and we looked at the really strong performance in Carolina as well. So we looked at video. We've looked at, you know, their tendencies and where they are. They get a lot of success, and hopefully we'll be able to limit them and negate some of those situations in the way we set up. And then it's just down to, you know, a little bit of good luck, a little bit of good fortune, a little bit of good play. And hopefully we get some good officiating as well, because unfortunately that was a feature of the last performance we had down in the Exploria Stadium, and we hope we don't have to repeat that.
Richie, it's Steve. Where do things stand in terms of searching for additional roster help in the coming weeks?
Steve, you know, we're still in the hunt for that one striker. We just brought on board Tara McKeown from USC. Just finished their college. He was our second draft pick, number 8 from right after we picked Trinity this year. And we had high hopes for her. She's come in this week and she's been great. And it's sort of looking at how well she's assimilated and integrated with the group. It sort of stalled our move a little bit. We're in conversation with a couple of players that we'd like to consider. Those won't come to fruition until pre-Olympics or maybe post-Olympics for one or two of them, if we could advance those talks. But while Tara looks to be lighting up the way she has done this last week or so in training, we'll maybe have to revisit that a little bit, because that's going to be a big number acquisition. That's not going to be a cheap player. That's going to be someone who hits our pocketbook pretty hard, and someone that we would invest in because they will be of international caliber. But sometimes you get stopped in your tracks when one of your younger players just looks to be finding her feet in the professional game very, very quickly and have all the attributes that you think, oh, hang on a minute, this might be a player for us. So we're sort of going down a dual path right now. Let's see how Tara McKeown does with us, and then we'll continue these talks. And the players that we're looking at are currently under contract with other teams anyway. So it's not like we are looking to make something happen in the next week or so. It's probably a month, 6 weeks out.
Got it. Thanks.
You're
Richie, Tim Graney again from Tribal Football. You had referred to the Challenge Cup as a preseason tournament, and I think there's been some people view it that way. Some people view it as a path to a true cup competition in the States for women at the club level. What do you think in terms of in the future? Would you like to see it annually, and where does it go? Does it go into the preseason or during the season?
Jim, just to make sure we're clear, I love the cup competition. I just think it was badly misplaced as a preseason tournament, because for professional coaches trying to get your players ready, you don't want every single match to be a uber competitive match. You want to be able to give somebody that's developing 60 minutes into a game, and you look at different things. But when you've got the games are a must-win situation every single match, it makes it a little bit difficult. So I spoke to quite a few coaches in the NWSL, and I'm on board with maintaining a cup competition to run parallel with our league competition like everywhere else in the world, and have the Challenge Cup, infiltrated through our season. There'll be set cup weekends or set cup games, and it even will then give teams, for instance, if you're languishing 3rd, 4th from bottom of the league, the cup competition becomes even more important for you. You can have a really good run at a successful season if you're not going to win the league, or you're not going to be up in the top of the league, but you're going to win the cup. And I think that's the type of thing that everywhere else around the world teams enjoy. The cup killers and the small minnows who knock off the big wigs. That's what makes the cup so exotic and so interesting. But separating the two was not my favorite choice. I don't think it was of many other coaches as well. Preseason is a purposeful preseason to prep for the season. The cup is something that players should really aspire to play in and win, because it gives a little bit of glory to the club, and you put a trophy in the cabinet. But while you separate the two out, I just don't think that. And again, I know that the league and Lisa Bird were trying to be promoting of our league itself, but I think there are better ways to do it than having the Challenge Cup in preseason.
Great. One last question.
Richie, this is John again. You mentioned McKeown and the fact that she's fitting in so well so early with the team, to the extent that it might actually change your acquisition strategy for this season. She had the opportunity to stay with her college team, which is not always the opportunity, and played really well and got into it and looked at the tournament. How big of an advantage do you think that was for her as a coming into a team that has had a full preseason already and is now getting ready to start the season, for her ability to adapt?
Let me first tell you, John, she hates to be called McKeown. Like, it sounds like there's a Q in there. It's Mackie Owen. So it's like a K, and she's warned me twice, and her dad warned me as well not to mispronounce it. So make sure we don't call it McKeown.
Noted. Noted.
Yeah. But you're right. She, the fact that she's playing, the fact that she hasn't come in, cold. She's played games, and not only has the kid played well, she's been lights out good for them. all their goals, all their assists, all their danger, and I don't care who you are and what level you play. As a player, when you feel valued and you feel that you are a major piece, it's a huge psychological boost for you. So she's come in here and she's got a little bit of confidence. Number one, she's not behind the fitness curve. She's in a pretty good place because she's been training, and they've obviously done a good job of maintaining her fitness level and maintaining her growth and accumulation in that area. The biggest thing that we've talked about since she came into the football club is the tactics and the speed of play, because they're significantly different in a college game. And she's picked up on that right away. But again, to your point, the fact that she's been playing, the fact that she's been confident, the fact that she's been on the training ground with a college team and doing really, really well, and obviously feels that she was a big wig for that school program, I think it's helped her coming into us. And even though she's playing with internationals and she's playing with a little bit more experienced players, it's not really phased her in any way. She looks very comfortable, very happy. She just wants to learn. She wants to make sure she understands what I want tactically, because it's a little bit different than what she's been used to. And certainly speed of players and technical ability across the board is much better at the professional level. So we're just happy to have her on board. She looks great. She looks happy. She looks like she's going to be a really good fit for our football club. And we'll see where that one goes.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you everyone for joining us. We will have post game on Sunday. Make sure you tell me who you want for that. Otherwise, have a great weekend.
Thanks, everybody. Good talking to you.
Thanks, Jordan.
Richie. Thanks, Jordan.